Okay, now recording. Nobody curse. Swear. Don't curse. Don't curse at all. Oh wait, I have to tell myself that. All right. All right. So if I'm going to do a little bit of styling on this, nope, come on now. Come on. Let's go ahead and get my React script starting. Then if I'm thinking of ways of moving this out into its own component, that shouldn't be that big of a deal, I don't think.
Yeah.
So each component, I think if I'm going to conditionally render like an expand button or a contract button, I think if I'm going to do that, then I'd like to, I'd really seriously like to put in, oh, come on. Somebody's asking me about Danny. I'd seriously, okay. Yeah, I'm getting lots of people asking me questions now, of course. I'll probably have to end up editing that out, I'm sure. So anyway, yes, I have San Antonio plans before going up. All right, so now let me move this down here. So we have the project that we had last night. So they've got a lot more data on these than just dead or alive, or they have male, female, unknown, all kinds of stuff like that. So let me see what type of data they have, and let's just put some more data into it. Let's see. Oh, weird. I know I have. Did we get rid of our console log? No, we got console log right here. Results search. Oh, okay, there we go. Results. Array of 20. All right, so we have the date the thing was created, the episode number that it was on, the location. So that might be a cool one to get, location name. So let's go ahead and do that. And I hate when it does that styling. So if you notice, I had to go result, location, name. And that's because this is our result. It's an array of 20. So result dot location dot name, and it gives us the Earth replacement dimension. That's where the guy's coming from that time. We've also got his name, that's already in there. Species is human, status is alive. I guess type would be a nice one to put in there. So let's put those in. I'm just going to copy this because I'm being lazy today. So I can get some good information out of this, and then we can start playing with the styling on it. And then we can just move it over into a component. So we're going to do species, status. Oh, we already have status. Species, status, and type. I have no idea what type is, but obviously there's some types. There's a whole bunch of episodes and stuff. I guess we could probably loop through those if we really wanted to. I don't think I'm going to. we do origin name. So let's just say put some more information in here so we know what it is. So and then result type. I think we're going to go ahead and do results origin name. Save that and just take a quick look and see what it looks like. So no type on that, no type on that, no type on that. Genetic experiments. We've got somebody who's a genetic experiment. Abradolf Linkler. That's a contradiction. All right, so yeah, so like all of this would be great into like its own little card or whatever. That's fine. So we've already got a div of a card. We're now mapping stuff into these cards. So I think I'm gonna redo this. We're gonna call this a section. Huh. Oh, we just got this, so we might as well just call this main. So if we're going to be semantic about it, we're going to be semantic about it. So I think probably this would be a good header. Have these over so that they're not in the React fragment level. All right, so let's see if that explodes anything. I don't think it will. Yeah, search box is still up there. Okay, so now we have search with search box. I'm going to move this over. All right. iPhone 5 mode because you guys know I like to do everything phone first or mobile first or whatever you want to call it. All right. So first things first, I really don't like the padding on the search, and the header is, I think I'd prefer them side by side on the search. So as we have Node SCSS, Node SAS installed, I can just type this in kind of like what you guys were taught in less, and get away with pretty much anything I want. So header, display flex. So now our search box is next to that. That is really ugly. We're going to do P colon. Or did they put that in margin? This is margin. There we go. That looks more normal. Header, I can do a little bit of bottom one rim. We can do a border, 1 pixel, solid. See if that explodes. Okay, well, I want a border bottom. There. That's not what I wanted. Okay. So now I have a search bar. It's not really pretty. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do something with this flex. Space evenly. It still doesn't look quite right up and down, so I'm gonna do a line item center. There. Now the search looks where it's actually centered. What do you guys think? That looks okay? Here's our Pickle Rick. I don't really like the colors on this. Do you guys? Black and white. Let's cheat. So I think the main, because they're using like this gray color, right? Let's just copy theirs. They've obviously got better people working on it than I am on styling. All right, so let's see here. They're using the 20, 23, 29. And we're going to say color. Let's see. Okay, so we got that same color. I think they've got a better font than we do. Let me inspect this. Kind of clone this a little bit. See what fonts they're using here. Font family. Make this a little bit nicer here. Copy. See if that breaks ours. Okay, so our search box looks actually quite nice now. It doesn't have that weird look to it. So, okay, we're done styling, right? No. Let's make our main. Background color, and we're going to do that 20, 23, 29. Forgot the pound sign. Oh yeah, we got to do some color change on that text. So let's do okay, so that's looking okay.
Nice.
So now we have main. We have like all these articles. Probably would want a little section for that, but I think article should be okay. You go back over to app.js. Yeah, so we've got main with an article. We probably do a section here. So we can keep sort of kind of semantic going. And we'll just call this characters. And then, yeah, article probably would need another class name. Card. Sounds good. All right, so now we have inside a container, we have our main, we have our section of characters, and then cards. So each one of these could be a card. So I think that probably looks okay for right now. I don't think we're going to need to go like insanely crazy or anything. Maybe these P's a little bit. So we have a main, a section, an article, and a P. So characters, card, P. So,
how many characters in this cartoon? I never watched.
well, there's 30 pages of them, so I would imagine that that's, say, 30 times
Do we
20.
have the access for all of them?
All the ones in the API, yeah. You just
So
have to
we're
go to
gonna
the
get
next
all
page.
of them?
It only gives you 20 at a time.
So you do a loop? Get all
Well,
of
you don't
them.
have to get all of them, but what you can do is you can use that to paginate and get more stretch.
Okay.
So, and we'll get into that a little bit tonight as well. So, oops. I got characters, and then I have card. And I'm wanting to be kind of specific on this because I want to modify it so there's some breakpoints for when it gets to like tablet size or larger. It's no longer like cards. It's like, you know, a different direction. So I think on image, I'd like to do a border radius. We'll just do one round, see how that looks. So that kind of looks nice. What do you think? And then let's do some margin on the card. How do we want to do margin? Probably one room would probably be enough. What do you guys think? Yeah, see, then we got that whole box styling thing. Anybody remember the box styling problem?
Yeah. Is that like border box none?
It was
Or box sizing border
sizing
box.
border box.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that didn't do what I thought it was going to do because now we're overflowing. Okay. Well, we'll do image on its own. Move that up to the top. Do there. With 100% on its own fixes everything. It's amazing. So, okay, yeah, sure. And then I think on the card, I don't know. Because we've already got main has that nice background color. Card, background color. So we did that 2023, 29. But 23, 29. All right, so if I go over here and I just, I don't know, lighten it a little bit. There. Save it. Yeah, see that looks a little bit nicer. And then we do a little bit of padding. I think you're seeing a one rim padding on everything now. And then a border radius. Everything's a rim. You get a rim, you get a rim. I think that looks pretty nice. What do you think?
Yeah.
All by itself. So if we move out of this mode, now everything's wrong. So it's gigantoenormous. So I think what we want to do is put a max width on these character cards. I don't think 500 pixels, probably 300 pixels is probably enough. Okay, cool. And then let's do, yeah, I think main needs probably little adjustments as well, but we can deal with that later. But yeah, if we were to do characters as display flex, it's 7 o'clock. So if we did that as display flex, now we've got weirdness going on. I don't know, let's just make these a width of 300 pixels. And then we'll do a, let's do, flex. All right. So as we go larger, it adds them, but it's not centered. So I guess we probably do space evenly for justify content. What do you guys think? I think space evenly would be all right. All right, so now as we add more in, it gets bigger. That's pretty nice. What do you guys think? So with 43 lines of CSS, we now have something that's slightly not angry. I don't know. I don't like the way that that header is spaced evenly on the header. I think I'll just do flex end. Save it. I don't even know that I need a breakpoint for this. This already looks nice enough. What do you guys think?
Looks good.
So let's go ahead and do Rick. So we got a whole bunch of Ricks. Okay, so that's styling. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to, I guess I'll open up another one since I don't want to. Come on now. All right, so I'm going to get add git commit. You notice I'm not using my first name dash last name on this. I'm actually using something that makes sense, like what we're working on, like styling. So now if I want to go to the GitHub page for this, I'm just going to drag this down. Figure out where to put that. Here's the rock stars. And let me drag this down. All right. Shrink that a little bit. Just gonna put that right there. So now you'll notice I have styling. I can compare that. Leave a comment. We're gonna go ahead and create a pull request. And I'm gonna merge it. So now, if I do get pull origin master, it's going to make sure that everything that I have pushed up is now current on my machine. So anytime anybody makes a change on like a group, everybody needs to do this get pull origin master and see where the merge conflicts are. Otherwise, I'll overwrite whatever they were doing because that's just how it works. Or you can do a push and then do a get pull origin master. That way your changes are kind of sort of safe in a way. And then you can deal with the merges there. So you get merge conflicts all over the place whenever you're doing stuff, especially when you're first getting started. So next week we'll start going into more of this so you guys can see where merge conflicts happen and how to avoid them at all costs and how to deal with them when you can't avoid them. So we'll start playing with that after hours next week for build week. So this will either complain or it won't complain. So it'll either say, hey, erase all your changes, or, you know, just overwrite everything. In this case, I'm the only person working in this, so there shouldn't be any errors. If there are, then I've messed up something somewhere. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get checkout, and I'm going to call this conditional render. So now I'm on a new branch called conditional render. I'm just going to minimize that. So now if I wanted to make it so this stuff here doesn't happen until I click on the photo, I can make the photo a button and maybe put some text underneath it or something saying more info. I don't know. We can do it any way you guys want. You guys want to make the picture a button, or do you guys want to make text underneath the photo a button?
I said, let's do a picture as a button, I feel like.
Okay, cool. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need to store some state on whether or not the button is active or inactive. So we can click the photo and make it disappear, or click the photo and make it up here. So now we're running into the point where we need to make a component out of this because we have more than one RIC here. Like these are a lot of RICs. I need to be able to tell the difference between all of these RICs so that when I click the button, all of them don't open. So this is where we get to turn it into a component. Come on, my mouse is being, the little LEDs on, I guess it must have a low battery. So we're gonna do a new folder. I'm just gonna call it component. It could be components, could be capitalized, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna do a new one. Mysteriously, I'm gonna call it character. I like JSX, just makes a lot of things work nicer in VS Code if it's a JSX file. And I'm just gonna copy this whole article out of here. And so first thing to making a React functional component, you need an import statement. Second thing is you need a function. And this one we're just going to call. We are going to be passing in props. It needs a return statement with valid single parent JSX, like that, and it needs an export. Now we have a valid React functional component. So now we're going to run into some problems here with props, because I'm going to be passing in, well, first off, we're not going to have this key equals index on this one because it's going to be on where we call this. So we have result, 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 result. All of these are going to be props.result until I teach you guys about destructuring, which you guys aren't ready for yet. I won't do that until next month because you guys need to understand this concept well before you start destructuring. Otherwise, it gets into a mess when you get into labs. We've had a few people in labs where I'm having to teach them again what props are because they were taught way too early how to destructure, and they don't understand what props are. They have no idea. All props is just a banana word anyway. I could call this anything I want. I could literally call this banana. It doesn't matter what I call it. But this word here, that result, is where we're going to be passing this in as result equals result. So if I call over here and we do character, and if I hit tab there, it automatically will import it, which is nice, so you don't have to type anything. But down here, if I do result equals result, the other thing I have to do is that key. Remember, we need to have a unique key for each one of these, like that. So if I do result equals result, this right here is the key, this is the value. So this is going to be props result dot whatever's in result. So this is your banana word right here for this result here. So those are the ones that need to match. Let's go ahead and save that and see if it explodes. Result is not defined. Let's see, character line 654, I missed one. 6. Yeah, missed one, props. Save it. Aha. We've now made a component. So now you're asking yourself, okay, well, it works the exact same way, except now this is its own component that can have its own state separate from the parent. And I can never pass that state back up to parent unless I use fancy magical items, which you guys haven't learned about yet. So if I'm going to do this, I need useState. And I'm going to need some way of toggling true and false. So I usually use something like display toggle, set display toggle. Try to use something that makes sense at all costs. Don't use just toggle, because there could be lots of toggles in a React app. And I'm going to set this to true first. So if I save this, it didn't do anything. But if I wanted it to, let's say all of these if I wanted it to make all of these where it conditionally renders these, first thing I have to do is group them with my React fragments like this. And then what I can do is I can set a logical operator for this. Oh, I have to also escape out of JSX mode back into JavaScript mode like that, so that it knows that we're running JavaScript. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it do a logical comparison between display toggle and this JSX element here. So that JSX element with the parents of React fragment, that is always going to return true. So if I do something like display toggle and that, then it's going to display the items that are in there. So if I save this, you'll notice there's no change. But if I change this to false, I save it, they go away. So that is a conditional render based off of whether or not this and this is true. That's a fancy shortcut to cheating conditional rendering. So this is advanced stuff apparently. So now we wanted to make it so we click the image and it shows up or disappears, right? You guys ready? This is fun. It's going to screw up some styling. I'm going to put in a button around the image. So now why don't I use an A or whatever? Because we don't have an href. You could use a div and technically toggle a div, but that's really, really bad for people with screen readers.
Can you just add the on-click on image tag?
You could have, but it's bad for screen readers.
Oh, I see.
So it has to be with accessibility. They have to know that that's something they can click on. Otherwise, the screen reader has no idea they can click on the image to get the information. So semantically, we need to do button. Because technically, you can make this a div. Any element you want, you can put the on-click on. It just isn't proper when it comes to accessibility. So get your what is it, 509 compliance or 209 compliance. I'd have to look it up. I think it's 509 compliance. Yeah, there's lots of companies that have been sued recently for doing things like that. But it is cool that you can do it. I like it. I've played with it a few dozen times. It makes your code very streamlined and everything, but current state of screen readers is it has no idea there's an on-click there. So it doesn't think of it as anything it can click on. So we're going to do the on-click here. So now an on-click, it takes a function. I'm going to be passing in the event and then making the function in here where we've got event.prevent default because this is a button. You always want your event prevent default on the button. Otherwise it refreshes the entire page, which we don't want. And we also want to set our display toggle. So now if I wanted to change that from a false to a true, does anybody have an idea on how I would do it very simply? Like always, if it's a true to a false or a false to a true.
Not display toggle.
Yep. So now this makes it so it toggles, and instead of having to manipulate the DOM directly and show something versus not show something versus, and then have a use effect that has to return a destructor and all this other stuff, this does not require a destructor. Each time you click it, it destructs it naturally. And it doesn't sit there and continue to count up memory as you click it. So let's see if this works. First off, styling is going to look horrible because the button. But if I click on this, now we got Rick Sanchez. You know, I can click on any of them. Now, if I were to have tried to do this with global state up in the app level, I would have to make a new one for each one of these characters. And that gets funky, like really strange, where you're having to like, I don't know, make a higher order component in JavaScript, but I don't know, then you have a new one for each one that comes out, and it gets nasty. So with this makes it so in a very reactive way, it's only displaying what you need. So I'm gonna say that's probably pretty good. Let's go and do Rick again. So now we got Rick. There you go. Arthrikia. Wow, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Art. Yeah. Anyway, so apparently Rick has a wolf sister. I don't know. Bootleg portal chemist Rick. Okay, so we got enough information now. We've got working buttons. That's pretty cool. Insurance Rick. I'm gonna say that's pretty successful. What do you guys think for an hour-ish of work?
Yeah.
Now you did all this. I'm run out of idea what I'm gonna do now.
Well, you just don't copy what I do.
Don't copy what you do. Now what?
I don't know, make it so the cards are sideways or something. I don't know. So last thing that I wanted to get into is a discussion on pagination. Unless you guys don't want any surprises. So I'm gonna do add dot get push. Oh, can't push, gotta commit. So we're gonna commit we'll say conditional render on photo click, enter, and get push render. Okay, so, oh, and then the last thing I do is I prefer deleting the branches after I'm done, because there's no reason to have a branch that you're never going to use again. That just makes no sense. So I'm going to do another pull request. This time it's with this one. So create the pull request. Going to merge it, confirm merge, and delete the branch. Okay, cool. So next thing I get to do is pop back over here and get pull origin master, because there has been a change, and now we are up to date with the Git repository. And I can do pagination. Pagination? Alienation. You decide, I guess. All right, so if you'll remember yesterday when we did this, let me inspect. So we had in the console where we had info. Notice how it says how many items there are, how many pages there are, and then where next is. So next is page 2. But if you notice, if I copy that and then I paste this in here, oh, come on, that's not what I want. I'm going to do this by not right-clicking on it. So if you notice, I have page 2. So I have question mark, page 2, ampersand, name, and I've got RI. I guess I don't have Rick in here all the way for whatever reason, but it should be Rick. All right. So notice how we have this info that comes back and these results that come back. And then after the results, you get a whole bunch of other stuff here. So, well, I guess it's really not showing us that on this, but in the Axos call, you'll get all kinds of neat stuff. But what if I wanted page, say, 6? Doesn't like page 6 because it told us that there was only 5 pages of bricks. So there's 5 pages, 82 counts. There's only 2 on that. Because it's 20 each. So if I wanted to limit the number of pages that people can go to, I just need to put in whatever number is next. So start with page 1, and then I can add a page until it hits whatever that pages count is. So how do we do that? This is going to get weird. Okay, so my brother is still talking to me. Oh, come on. Wish they wouldn't put the notifications up when I'm on a Zoom. That's horrible. Just leave me alone. Let's see if I can pause notifications on this. Okay, I'm going to mute that and see if that helps. All right, so apparently there is a WASP Rick. I did not know that. Let's see here. If you notice here, we've got use state Rick and Morty API character question mark name equals. Well, we're going to have to modify this a little bit and break it temporarily because they want it in a different way. So if you notice this line here, we've got question mark page equals 5 ampersand name equals Rick. So I now need yet another state. So I'm going to do const page set page equals, and we're going to use state, and we're going to start with page 1. Second thing we need to do is we need to change our use effect to accept page. Whenever the page number changes, it needs to then go back out to the API and re-get the data. So we have the URL. I can add in page equals $, and then page. Then they have ampersand name equals search. So we're going to start here and see if this is going to break things. It does not. So what if we go to page 2? So we're going to just change this to 2. Well, that appears to be page 2. It's definitely a page that we haven't been to before. You think we're onto something? I think we might be. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
So we have a bottom limit, it needs to be 1, because I don't think page 0 is going to give us anything. I think that's going to crash the app, actually. No, page 0 just gives us page 1. How many pages were in this thing anyway? Let's see.
30?
Let's say 30 pages. So if we go to page 30, save it. So there's our 30th page of stuff.
This page is the search result page or is the whole data's page?
That's the whole data. We don't have any search results in it at all.
Oh, okay.
So all I'm doing is I'm using, you know, the information on here. So like if I do a search, and I do Rick, well, if you notice, the get failed. So because the get failed, it might be a good idea to reset the page on our get. So that's kind of an edge case because right now we're sitting at pages at 30 and I just tried reducing the number of pages by searching. So what if we just did set page as 1?
I'm gonna get going. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Nope, sorry, not set page. Rick. All right, so I'm going to refresh. Now, if you notice, if I do RICK, somewhere up here, we get that error. And it said 404 can't be found. There isn't anything there. But it reloads with page equals 1. So by catching that error, we have now reset our state for a page to 1. So if you have too many pages and there's an error, you can say, okay, well, set page to 1. The search box, they can change it at will. So now what about if we made a button that carousels through these pages? So what we can do is, let's say we put this in the header.
Can you read all the pages and store the data, then search through the data?
You could, but that would be kind of a pain on this one. But with this one, the API already searches for you. So
Yes, the name, right?
yeah, but it's already, they already have it where it's paginated into 30 different things, 30 different or 30 different pages. So what we could do is we can use some of this information that we're getting from here to put in, say, a page right or left button, right?
That's my idea, okay? Now you're doing this again. I draw the things left and right.
So, we will need, you just said we need 2 buttons, right? Left
Yeah.
and right button, and then something in the middle. Do you want to put something in the middle?
What are you gonna put in the middle? I don't know.
I'm just going to say what page we're on versus how many
Oh,
pages
you mean
are left.
display the page
Mhm.
number.
So
Yeah.
I'm not going to make it so that I can click on it because I think that's way outside of what I want to do tonight. But
I was thinking if you want to click on it, it goes through a new page, or you just change the middle part, like the display part.
so if you click on it and you go, say, to the right,
Yeah.
So if you're at the last page, that button probably doesn't need to be there. That might be something you could conditionally render. And if you're at the first page, you shouldn't have a button that goes the other direction, or make it so it does nothing, I guess. But as you go to the next page, it will update the information below automatically.
Oh, I see.
So that's because it's going to do this use effect.
So the
next to
arrow
step.
actually is increment the data the pages number.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Alright.
the error is
No,
just
I
in
mean
case.
the arrow,
Oh, yeah, the arrow, yeah, is just going to increment the page
the page number. Okay, I see.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Until it gets to that last one, or maybe make it so it loops to the first page. Kind of like the carousel. Huh? You guys remember the carousel? All right, so I'm going to delete this because I don't need that. So if I were to do this, I need a function because I don't feel like doing this inside of the change, or I want to do this inside of a change handler instead of inside of the body of the button. So if I did, we'll just say next handler. Oh, I need to put a constant in front of that. Oh, not that error there. Jeez, I'm losing my mind. I'm getting so many dings today. All right. So we have a next handler, and we'll do a previous handler. So we can do two separate buttons. These are both going to have a pretty sure I spelled that correctly. So both of these are going to have a event handler because we don't want it to refresh the page. Bad things happen when we refresh the page. So this should be pretty simple. So we have, let's see here if I can find it. We have in our information, so in info, we've got info.pages. And it's stored right here neatly in that chunk of state. So what we could do is we could do if page let's see, is less than, let's see if I can do this. Info dot, what was it? Pages. Now I'm going to have to think about this. So let's say that info is less than info.pages. So that means 29 is less than 30. So I need to do pages plus 1 to make this logic work, or change this to a less than or equal to, because it's got the number of pages not starting at 0. So now, basically, if it's allowed to go to the next page, we just do set page plus 1, like that. And we got to do page plus 1 because it's going into state. It's a setter. Else, we're going to do I'll go back to the first page. So if you go past that last one, it's going to go to the original page, which is page 1. So the next one, let's see if we can think about this for a second. We need to say if page is greater than 0. So if it's 1 or higher, then we're going to set page as, actually that'd be greater than 1, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if it's
Yeah.
1, you can go down more.
Yeah, so because we don't want it to go to 0, so we want it at 1. So set page is page minus 1. If it is below 1 or 1 or lower, then we want it to set page, and we're going to do info pages, just like that. So is info.pages, let me look here. Yeah, that's a number. Cool. So we have that. Let's see if it compiles. Okay, I don't have any serious bugs. So let's see if we can get what page we are and do a conditional render on this. What page we are of what page we can be. So what we can do is we can do, say, a P. Oh, no, I can't do this. And what we can do is we can, okay, when it does that, we can do page, then of, yeah,
Info.pages.
yeah. All right, so let's save that. So we're at page 30 of 30. Let's go ahead and fix that. So we start at page 1. Save it. Okay, so there's 1 of 30. And then if I type in here, say there's only 5 pages of rigs, and it updated the amount of pages very quickly. So back to 30 pages. That's always nice. So trying to think, my brain's not all here. I just thought of something. If we were to just move the set page up, where anytime that you get a result, set page is always 1. And we don't need this console login here anymore. Then it doesn't matter if we start on 30 or whatever, it will always set the page as 1 whenever you update the search. I think. No, it probably needs to be on air. I better not get fancy with it. We already know it works. I don't want to get into a loop. Not today. Only have 15 more minutes and I have my class. All right, so if I do Morty, Morty has 4 pages. So apparently Rick is more popular than Morty. Poor Morty. All right. So before I lose all of my API key access to this, I think we should probably put in a button. Button, who's got the button? So we're gonna do, say,
Hi.
this is the part where Wei is gonna get angry at me. All right,
Come on.
so we're going to put in, I guess I'm going to use a minus sign on that one. Use a plus sign on this one. All right, so button, and we're going to do onClick, sorry, equals. We're going to pass an event. And we're going to call, this is previous handler. Like that. Event again. This one is going to be next handler. Save that. All right. So if I go plus, now we've got paging
Nice.
changing. So if we go to, say, page 6 and we type Rick, it moved us back to page 1 because there was an error. There's no page 6. So instead of it not displaying anything, we reset the possible search. And, you know, there's 3, 4, 5. Let's see if it explodes. Went back down to 1. 1 goes to 5. So it loops. And now if I do morty, it goes back down to 1 because there's only 3. I thought there was 4 pages. Weird. Pretty neat.
Any other features we can add it to the website?
Oh, there's lots
You
of things you
could-
could.
Do like a toggle to make the button disappear, like the minus when you're at the last page. Or
Man, there's all
stuff like
kinds
that.
of stuff you
Yeah.
can do with this. Man.
I'm lack of imagination.
oh, I'm same.
Creative.
I'm always like, I don't know.
But yeah, you don't have to use plus or minus. You could use arrows.
No. I mean new features, not like a design style. I mean features.
Well, yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff with this. So
You could have it like do like a sort by, like
yeah,
That's a good idea.
sort by dead or alive, or
yeah, you could do that.
yeah.
So like there's other search features in here that you could do. Let me see here on the Rick and Morty API. So if I go into the docs, I'll go back out of this. If I go into the docs and I look at say filter characters, you can filter them by
man.
alive, dead, or unknown. That would be nice for a checkbox. Checkboxes are a pain in the ass. Sorry about cursing. You can filter by the species, the type, gender,
Just
male,
like when you
female.
go shopping, filter by the size, the color.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I can add that. That's cool.
Yep. So there's all kinds of neat things that you can do in that. And all you're doing is you're just adding like another, like this is like question mark name, ampersand status alive. So like say you wanted type at the end of this, you would just do ampersand type equals, I don't know, what was it, genetic clone or something. I forgot what it was. I'm pretty sure it was a Rick.
What's this? Get a multiple characters, get a single characters.
Yeah, you can make it so that when you click on the character, it just shows one character.
Ah,
That would be nice.
yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
And we haven't even talked about React Router yet, and that would be nice to have, where you could just like completely do everything. You could also make it so it displays the episode if you wanted, like a list of episodes, and you could click on the list of episodes. Because they've got locations, they got episodes. You know, I don't think the episodes have any pictures, but it's got a list of characters in each one of the episodes. Shows whenever it aired originally, that kind of stuff. You can get a single episode if you wanted, if you go just directly to it. So let's look at who's in episode 28. Copy. Come on. So maybe start with an episode and then make it so it lists out all the characters that are in that episode. And then you can go through and right and left the episode, and that way it shows a list of who is in that episode. Instead of just, you know, who's in there as in general. Because that would work. Mhm.
I have a couple ideas now I can work on.
So yeah, there's unlimited things you can do with it, except they're limited. So, but yeah, I was just trying to show you guys pagination, and honestly, I thought this was just the Star Wars one, but apparently they changed it at some point where it's also Rick and Morty. Thanks, guys, for
Star Wars
changing.
data has no images. If you don't have images, what are you gonna show?
And that's why I like the Rick and Morty for a demo, because it shows images.
And it has a ton of info.
It has and the documentation on it is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think I'm
You
gonna
gotta
go
see
ahead
the Pokemons. It's all over the place.
Does it have images?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we should do the Pokemon next.
Cool.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. So I'll drop this on YouTube for you guys, and you guys can review it if you want. And I'll upload this. But yeah, my stuff, as I said, I know if you copied it, it's quite obvious. So
I copy the use state.
yeah, but the use state is fine. I don't,
That's what I mean. I copy.
yeah, because it's
Yeah, I see.
it's
A lot
so
of
much.
these things very general style.
Yeah. So like the use state, using a use state, you know, it's still going to error out. Like if I go over here and, oh, here, let me just refresh since we've been doing so much stuff here. So like this is going to error out. Like it's got a redundant alt attribute. It already knows that it's an image. You don't need to use the words image, photo, or picture, or any specified custom words in the alt prop. So that's one of the errors in here. So if I go back over to my character and here, it'll stop complaining about that. But I still have this set URL as assigned to value but never used. And then it also says React hook use effect has a missing dependency URL. Well, if I put URL right here, it's a missing dependency. Now it's not a missing dependency. The world will crash and burn. It will continue to redo that over and over and over and over. It's horrible. You don't want that to happen. So I'm just leaving URL where it is. It doesn't change. We don't care. So we're not worried about it. But anything that could possibly change this get result goes here. So in this case, page and search. And those are not things that are changed easily. They have to be done manually by you clicking on it. So that's why they don't need a use effect on their own when you click on them, like the next handler or the previous handler, or the page. This is the page one. The search is here.
When
Right
is the
here.
first time you get all the data from? It's the. Can you scroll it up? Let me see.
Where am I getting all the data from? It's just right here.
But if there's no name, so it's get all the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if name is empty, it just
Get
just
all
asks
the-
for name, but it's empty, so nobody cares. Same
Oh,
thing with page number. I think page number doesn't care, but we've got page one because we need a starting point. So I guess you could probably do a for array and then turn each one of those buttons into, where it goes to page, changes page to whatever number. So that might be something you could do, is make it so it's got an array of numbers with the left and right arrows.
but
That's another-
that do the same thing, right?
It does the same thing, but then you can directly click on
On the
button. Trying to think of how you would do that, but yeah, it'd probably just be like an I loop, like a for I loop. I don't think I would probably want to try to do that any other way than a for I loop, even though that's kind of anti.
Is there any limit on hit the API if you do too many times?
Yeah. I wouldn't
Wow.
use search very often. There is a limit. If it happens to you, then you could always borrow your neighbor's internet and get around it that way, I guess.
We have a public Xfinity, so.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there are limits. So probably don't implement the search and play with the search for days on end, looking up characters. But just be careful what you put into your dependency array, because if it changes inside of here, like say data, it'll complain about data, your set data, or set info, set results, that kind of stuff. It'll complain about that kind of stuff. So if it complains, don't put data or your, not data, your results or info in there. Otherwise, it'll just keep looping until the end of time. So, but I don't think we need this set URL. We can just go delete that there. That'll stop it from complaining. We just have that one last one. So only one warning, and that's a linting error. We don't care. So it's ugly. It works, but it's ugly. But it works. So like honestly, if you were to really do this right, this this header probably should be, this whole thing probably should be in its own component. So it reduces all of that. So you might have like a, I don't know, nav bar component or something. I don't know. Maybe wrap it in a nav. Who knows?
So only 3 hours then.
Only 3 hours. We did this entire thing with me not even thinking of how I was going to do this.
The thing is, when I run it, it's always this error, that error. It can take you half hour to fix one error.
That's how it works.
Sometimes you don't know what it is.
Now, mind you, I'm really good at doing React stuff, so you know that does limit. But we got this all done in 2 days, and honestly, we got everything functional in about 2.5 hours, including a working search and pagination. So that's like double stretch. So they're only asking for one stretch.
Oh yeah, if you after you done